new, Pussycat? Welcome to my channel. My name's Emma Cownley. I'm a freelance copywriter and blogger, and today I'm going to tell you how I like to review my quarterly progress as a business. This video comes off of that was really Liza Minnelli, wasn't it? Don't know where that came from. So this video comes off of the back of a LinkedIn post that I did at the end of Q1, where I said, oh, I've just reviewed my Q1 to see how it went, measured it against my goals. These are the kinds of things I'm tracking. What are you guys tracking? And everybody was like, oh, this is interesting. Never really thought about doing it like this before. Can I have more information? So I thought, you know what? Now that we've reached the end of Q2, why don't I take you through how I am reviewing my quarterly progress and my quarterly goals, and kind of how I've planned those and what I've used and the kind of tactics I'm using to get myself there. Thought it might be interesting, just, you know, as an interesting business growth metric, because some of the things that I class as being growth and progress aren't your average thing. And now, before I give you the goodies, I'd like to remind you to like this video and to subscribe to the channel if you feel so inclined. Completely free to do, makes a huge difference to me. I'll also kindly remind you that I am on Ko-fi and I do accept donations for coffees, and that you can hire me for a 1-hour power planning session. I call it the witching hour. And if you would like one-on-one advice with me on how to set up business goals and track your quarterly progress, well then by all means, go ahead and book that. Let's get this shit done. And on to business. So a couple of videos ago, and when I say a couple of videos ago, I probably mean like fucking 5 or something, last year or some shit, I can't remember what it was. I talked about the benefits of reviewing your business quarterly rather than monthly. So back in the old days, I used to get to the end of each month and think, how many new clients have I got? How much revenue have I made? Why am I not hitting these targets? Why am I being a dumb bitch? Why is things so slow? Why can't I make progress? Why am I so frustrated? And it turns out that that's probably because month-on-month reviews are just not good. They're too granular. You can't possibly make any tangible progress. Things go up and down way too much. It's just very stressful. It adds extra stress to that month that you don't necessarily need. And to be honest, as a freelancer, your business development tactics can take a month or two to actually come to fruition. So the seeds you've planted this month with a view to kind of making that happen in your business are probably not going to come good for a few months. So you really have to be working kind of 3 or 6 months ahead of yourself, really. So I started reviewing quarterly instead of monthly financial targets. I set quarterly financial targets because sometimes the things I'm working on roll over into the next month and I don't see the full payout of that job for a month or two. So I thought that might be a little bit smarter. And then eventually I came to realize that all my business goals are a lot better when done quarterly rather than monthly. So for those of you who don't know, a business quarter is kind of, I think it's like every 3 months. So beginning of January to the end of March is Q1, and then beginning of April to the end of June is Q2, etc., etc. So that's how I'm running my business now, quarterly, which is why we're making this video. So I thought I'd start by telling you how I set myself up for 2022. Now, usually I'd make some arbitrary goals that were like financial targets and potential customers that I kind of wanted to work with, and I'd be like, okay, that's my business goals for the year. I'm going to make this much every month and I'm going to try and get 2 clients from this sector. And they're not very fulfilling goals. And they also don't help me steer the trajectory of my business to make it more satisfying for me and to kind of help me work on things that I'm personally struggling with within my business, because my business and I are one. So if I'm having difficulty in a certain area and I'm not addressing that through my business, I'm still going to come up against the same stumbling blocks. So I'll give you examples when we look at my actual targets. The targets that I planned for 2022, I did off of the back of Louise Shanahan's podcast. She runs a podcast called 15-Minute Freelancer, and at the beginning of the year, she had an episode called How to Set Goals to Grow Your Freelance Business in 2022. And I had a little listen because I was like, do you know what? I could do with some fresh perspective. I need to plan these goals properly. I really liked her tactic. She kind of had you list out everything that was total ball ache in the last year, and then everything that brought you real joy, and then had you kind of narrow that list right down to have a more of goal and a less of goal. So I dug out my goals here so I could read them to you. Kind of feels like reading my diary live on the internet though. It's really feels weird. So my more of goal, or kind of a promise that I made to myself, is I vow not to work on things out of fear and obligation. If they are ag, don't take the job. If they're good, then feel safe to test yourself. So I had a real kind of crisis of creativity last year where I didn't feel good enough to get the job done, and it meant that I was getting in my own way, ruining perfectly good jobs for myself, like getting no creative joy, getting no satisfaction, but also applying that same metric to horrible clients who I shouldn't have accepted the work with, and then it kind of sent me into a spiral. So I kind of broke that down into 3 more kind of granular steps, which was to put my rates up, to push my passive business assets. I've got passive assets, pass-ass, as I like to call them. And number 3, trust your gut. And part of that is making my client screening spreadsheet that I've made to kind of help me be more discerning when I'm choosing clients to work with and when I'm accepting jobs. And kind of off of the back of that is my more of goal, which is I vow to relish in creative play, be free with clients, chase good jobs, do my own things joyfully. It sounds wanky, and it sounds wanky because I didn't think I'd be reading it out on YouTube. So just cut me some slack, all right? So the first micro goal within that umbrella of more of is work on my own stuff, let go of creative fear, and pitch for what you want. So really I'm trying to move away from working on things that I know are not right for me out of fear, and more joyfully working on the stuff I actually like. Kind of also as a tangent to that, Louise was asking, you know, try to think about what could my business be? How do I envisage it? How does it sit in the grand scheme of things? And I was like, do you know what? My business, I like it to be unexpected. I like it to be a bit different. And I want to be kind of lean more into the luxury alternative market. I work with a lot of like really rock and roll brands that are more high end, and I really like that. So I'm going to do a bit more of that. I've also got my kind of achievements for the year before listed out here on my joy list. So I really took time to think about last year, what was terrible and what was amazing, and how can I get more of what was amazing and less of what was terrible, is basically what Louise said. This video is going to be fucking long because I cannot get my shit together. It's just one of those days! So thinking about those, I wrote some goals and put them in my file of facts with some step-by-step to get myself there. I set myself a financial target per quarter, and I also kind of listed out 6 ways that I planned to increase my revenue month on month so that I could hit that target. So that's great. It's all going to plan so far, thankfully. It seems to be working because I'm being consistent. I've got a target to get more clients like one of my favourite clients. And what's good is that this year, that favourite client, which I thought was going to be a one-off job, they've actually come back several times. So not only have I landed a client like that client, which is that client, I've also landed another client that's like that client. So I've kind of double whammied that goal already. I managed to do that kind of even in Q1, so I'm smashing that one. And then I wanted to develop my Witchy Freelancer ebook because I had so much fun working on that. And instead of doing that, I've actually done a Witchy newsletter instead, which does build on that. And I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. So I'll leave a link for it in the description box below so that you can check that out. Yeah, and I've got a couple of heart projects that I want to do, things that I'm really excited about. So Those are the goals as they stand. So what I like to do every time I reach the end of a quarter is get this list back out, get that clipboard back out and say, right, this quarter, how many, am I able to say that I turned away jobs that I categorically knew were not right for me, even when I felt pressured to take the work for financial reasons? And if I can say yes and give examples, then that's bitchin', we're on our way. Same with the more of goal. How many creative projects was I able to do where I really let loose and experimented? Can I list these out? Did I feel fear? How did that go? And really kind of check in on that. And then revisit the checklists under each of my individual goals in my file of facts and be like, right, am I still doing this week on week? If no, what's getting in the way? What's going wrong? How can I integrate that with my weekly routine to make sure that I am consistently doing these things that I think will bring me closer to my goal? Financial targets, did I hit them? If not, what got in the way? For example, in March I got COVID and that kind of knocked me out for a bit of a long time. This month I'm going to be taking annual leave, so that's going to knock me out for a little bit of time. So really kind of objectively thinking, like, was there something I could have done, or did something else get in the way? How far off was I? If it's a matter of a couple of £100, is there anything that I can be doing month on month that will actually get me a bit closer to that, for example? So really kind of checking in and revisiting those lists and being honest with myself about, am I really doing everything that I can do? And most importantly, thinking about, are these goals still what I want? Do I still want to do this? Or is it actually something that's kind of getting in the way and I'd rather divert more attention and energy to one of the other goals that actually is taking off and is getting me really excited? So being honest about whether or not the goals still serve you, for example. So I think overall your business goals really should ideally be a mix of what makes you really, really happy and what is profitable, and kind of trying to marry those two things together and really shape your business intentionally rather than toddling along and just trying to get more work through the door and just kind of powering on through. Really thinking about the types of clients you're working with, the types of projects you're working on, stuff that you want to do for yourself, and finding ways to incrementally get a bit closer to that, because sometimes it's a fucking massive goal. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. So really the foundation of my goals for my business for the year come right off of the back of Louise Shanahan's podcast. And if you do get a chance to listen to that episode, I 100% do recommend it, especially as we're coming to the end of this year and you're thinking about what you want for 2023 for your business. Give that a listen, start planning. It really, really helped me see things with clarity, because last year was a fucking awful year for me. I really did not have a good time last year. I was in a fucking freelance midlife crisis. And if I'm calling it a midlife crisis, that kind of means that my business is only going to run for a maximum of 10 years, which doesn't seem right. But as we've previously discussed, maths is not my strong point. You might be a whiz with maths, sure, good for you. Some of us don't have their maths GCSE and in fact failed it twice. What are you going to do about that? Really getting things clear in my mind and making an action plan makes me feel so much better. There are going to be people out there that can't get on with the plan, and that's absolutely fine. Do what works for you. I just thought I would share what works for me and what I have been doing at the end of every quarter this year, because in previous years I was not checking in with myself. I would occasionally look at my kind of spreadsheet and think, oh fuck, only checking in from a financial point of view. And I think it's really great to always be every quarter looking back over that quarter at your achievements, at the things that you managed to get done, and it really helps you feel like, yeah, you know what, we are on the right track, rather than letting all of those good things slip away into the ether and not really acknowledging them. You have to kind of take them and really enjoy them, because those are the things that will sustain you during the times when you're feeling not that awesome about yourself or your business. You can kind of think, well, actually no, I've done a fucking lot this year and I'm really proud of myself. So I hope this video was useful to you and helpful in some way. As I'm recording it, I'm kind of feeling like I went everywhere. Fucking everywhere. in this video. So best of luck to you watching it. If you've made it to the end of this video, you are my favourite. Well done to you. Go get yourself a biscuit. You've done a good job. Think of me while you eat that biscuit. Unless it's a custard cream. Okay, thanks so much for joining me here. You can find me on social media. I'll link everything in the description box for you below. And you can find me back here, same time, same place, in 2 weeks for more Kiss My A's. Take care and peace out. Peace out.